You are not here by accident. You're here because something inside of you refuses to settle. Something deep within you knows you were made for more clarity, more purpose, more power. You felt the pressure, the setbacks, the confusion. But today, we strip all that away. Today, we tap into a kind of wisdom that doesn't come from books or schools or even experience alone. It comes from awakening, from finally deciding, I will stop surviving and start living with purpose. Main body, life-changing wisdom. Life will throw storms at you. That's not personal, it's universal. But what is personal is how you respond. Wisdom is not avoiding pain. It's learning how to turn pain into fuel. It's realizing that your worst day can be your greatest teacher. It's knowing that every single challenge you faced has shaped the fire in your soul. Let me ask you something. Have you ever paused long enough to realize that your biggest setbacks are actually life trying to wake you up? To stop reacting and start creating. You see, success isn't built on comfort. It's built on courage. Courage to ask hard questions. Courage to forgive when it hurts. Courage to say, this ends with me, when generations of fear or failure have tried to continue through you. You're not just living a life, you're leaving a legacy. And every choice you make writes a page of that story. The moment you stop blaming and start owning is the moment your life begins to transform. Closing, strong call to action. So here's what you do next. Decide. Decide that today you will no longer be a passenger in your own life. You will no longer wait for motivation. You will generate it. You will no longer seek approval. You will lead with vision. Say your truth. Live with intent. Serve with heart. Because wisdom is not something you just carry, it's something you live out loud. Take this moment, this fire, this energy, and do something with it. Make the call. Start the project. End the toxic cycle. Say yes to what scares you, because on the other side of fear is the life you were born to live. The world doesn't need another follower. It needs you, fully awake, fully alive, and absolutely unstoppable. Let's go. The time is now. Pain is not the enemy. It's the messenger. It's the wake-up call that life sends you when you're off course, when you're growing, or when something within you is ready to break free. Most people spend their lives avoiding pain, trying to numb it, run from it, distract themselves. But the truth is, pain is one of the most powerful teachers you will ever have. It doesn't lie. It doesn't sugarcoat. It doesn't give you a false sense of security. Pain tells you the truth. And in a world where we're so used to pretending, sugarcoating, and putting on a mask, sometimes pain is the only thing that can cut through the noise and reach the core of who we really are. When life gets uncomfortable, when things fall apart, when people leave, when dreams collapse, it's easy to feel like you're being punished. But you're not. You're being positioned for a shift, for a breakthrough, for a deeper, more powerful version of you to rise. The real question is, will you allow the pain to become your prison, or will you let it become your platform? You were not designed to stay in suffering. You were designed to grow through it. And growth is almost always uncomfortable. Why? Because it forces you to let go of who you were so you can step into who you're meant to become. Think back to a time in your life when everything seemed dark. Maybe you were heartbroken, lost, overwhelmed, or at rock bottom. And yet somehow from that place of pain came a new level of strength. You said, I'll never go through that again. And you didn't, because you learned, you adapted, you evolved. That's what pain does. It refines you. It strips away everything that is not essential. It breaks the ego. It humbles the mind. And in the ashes of what you thought was your destruction, it reveals the raw material of your next transformation. Some of the wisest, strongest, most compassionate people in the world didn't get that way by coasting through life. They've suffered. They've been knocked down. They've questioned everything. But instead of letting that break them permanently, they listened to the message behind the pain. They asked, what is this trying to teach me? And in doing so, they unlocked a new level of wisdom that no book, no seminar, no easy moment could ever give. You have that same power. Right now, whatever pain you're carrying, whether it's emotional, mental, financial, or spiritual, there is gold buried inside of it. There is clarity waiting to be discovered. There is strength that has not yet been accessed. And it's not about pretending that pain is pleasant. It's not, but it is purposeful. It's there to show you what matters, to redirect your path, to reveal the relationships that no longer serve you, to bring to light the parts of yourself that you've ignored, suppressed, or doubted. Pain is not there to paralyze you. It's there to mobilize you. We live in a culture that celebrates perfection and comfort. But true wisdom, true power, and true freedom come from going into the fire. Not to be burned, but to be forged. To come out on the other side stronger, clearer, more focused, and more alive than ever. The pain you've been running from is the very thing that holds the answer you've been seeking. It is the mirror that reveals not who you pretend to be, but who you truly are beneath all the noise. And when you stop numbing and start listening, you will find that pain is not just part of your story, it's the beginning of your awakening. Every single day, you are writing the story of your life. Whether you're aware of it or not, with every decision you make, the people you surround yourself with, the thoughts you entertain, the habits you keep, you are choosing the direction of your story. And the powerful truth is this: you are not just the main character, you are the author. You are the one holding the pen. You are the one who decides whether this chapter ends in defeat or triumph. You are the one who chooses whether today is just another average day or the day everything begins to change. Most people go through life reacting. They respond to circumstances. They adapt to what's happening around them. They live in a passive state, waiting for permission, waiting for luck, waiting for someone else to open the door. But a powerful life, a life that actually means something, doesn't come from reacting. It comes from creating, from stepping back, looking at where you are, and asking with full honesty, is this the life I want to be living? Is this the story I want to tell the world about who I am and what I stand for? It doesn't matter what you were taught. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't even matter what you failed at in the past. What matters is whether you're willing to own your power now in this moment and take full responsibility for what happens next. Because once you stop blaming others, once you stop pointing fingers at your past, your parents, your partner, your circumstances, and you look in the mirror and say, this is mine to change, everything shifts. When you realize you are the author of your life, you stop waiting for someone else to hand you a script. You stop asking, what should I do? And start declaring, this is what I'm here to do. You stop measuring your success by someone else's standards and start living by your own values. You stop waiting for confidence and start building it through action. The moment you decide to take ownership, you take back the power that life, fear, and doubt tried to steal from you. That's what separates people who drift through life from those who design it. It's not intelligence. It's not talent. It's not even opportunity. It's ownership. The ones who rise are the ones who say, no more excuses, no more playing small, no more rewriting the same painful chapter again and again. They get clear about what they want. They get honest about what needs to change, and then they act. They create momentum, not always big steps, but consistent ones. And through that movement, through that authorship, they shape a story that reflects who they really are, not who the world told them to be. Being the author of your life means accepting that no one is coming to rescue you. No mentor, no friend, no perfect moment is going to show up and magically rewrite your circumstances. It's on you. And that's not a burden, it's a gift. Because if it's on you, then you don't have to wait anymore. You don't have to hope someone else gives you a shot. You create your own opportunities. You build your own foundation. You become the person who stops the cycle and starts the legacy. So that doesn't mean every day will be easy. It doesn't mean you'll always know what to do. But it does mean that no matter what comes your way, the setbacks, the distractions, the voices of doubt, you will not surrender your pen. You will not give away your power. You will not let someone else decide how your story ends. But you're not just living a life, you are crafting a legacy. One sentence, one decision, one brave move at a time. Fear is a part of every journey worth taking. It's that sharp sensation in your gut before you step into the unknown, before you speak your truth, before you dare to go after something that actually matters to you. But fear is often misunderstood. Most people see it as a stop sign, something to avoid, something to run from. But in reality, fear is a signal. It's life's way of saying, pay attention. This moment matters. There's something important here. Fear shows up not when you're doing something meaningless, but when you're on the verge of growth. It appears when you're about to challenge your identity, step into your potential, and move beyond the comfort zone you've outgrown. We're conditioned to believe that fear is the enemy, that we must conquer it, crush it, eliminate it. But fear isn't the enemy. Paralysis is the enemy. Fear is only a problem when you let it dictate your behavior, when you hand it the wheel and allow it to decide what you will or won't do. What separates the people who grow, who lead, who break through from those who stay stuck isn't the absence of fear, it's their relationship with fear. They don't wait to feel fearless. They act despite the fear. They've learned that the presence of fear often means they're exactly where they need to be. Think about it. The first time you tried anything that mattered, starting a business, falling in love, speaking in public, making a hard decision, fear was right there beside you. That wasn't weakness, that was a signal, a sign that you were alive, that something was at stake, that you were investing your energy into something real. Fear is never present when you're playing small. It doesn't show up when you're doing what's easy or safe or familiar. It shows up when you're standing at the edge of something that could change your life, something that requires vulnerability, risk, and courage. But most people confuse fear with a reason to stop. They feel afraid and say, this must mean I'm not ready, or maybe this isn't meant for me. But fear isn't a warning to retreat, it's an invitation to rise. It's the body's response to stepping into a space where your current self will be tested and your future self will be born. It's a tension between who you are now and who you have the potential to become. You can't become that person without facing the fear that guards the gate to your next level. Fear will whisper lies. It will tell you that you're not good enough, that you'll fail, that you'll be judged, that it's safer to stay where you are. But those lies only have power if you believe them. Fear thrives in silence and avoidance. It gains strength when you pretend it's not there, when you let it operate in the background, subtly influencing your choices. But when you name it, when you face it head on, when you look it in the eye and say, I see you, but you don't control me, you take your power back. You shrink fear's grip not by fighting it, but by moving forward anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of it. It's feeling the nerves, the uncertainty, the anxiety, and stepping forward anyway. Every time you do that, you grow stronger. Every time you do that, you rewire your brain to associate fear with progress instead of danger. You start to expect fear when you're leveling up. You start to welcome it as a marker that you're in the right place, doing the right work, becoming the right version of yourself. Fear becomes a guide, not a jailer, a signal, not a sentence. Your entire life can change with one decision. One clear, bold, unapologetic decision to no longer tolerate what you've been tolerating. One decision to shift the direction of your story, to raise your standards, to stop settling for less than you know you're capable of. People often wait for the perfect time for all the stars to align, for the fear to disappear, for permission from someone else. But life doesn't work that way. Momentum doesn't come from waiting. It comes from deciding. And not just any decision, but a powerful, conscious decision backed by commitment, not convenience. There is a moment in every breakthrough where a person draws a line in the sand and says, enough. Enough of living by old patterns. Enough of listening to fear. Enough of shrinking to fit into a world that doesn't reflect your true potential. That moment doesn't come from logic. It comes from the heart, from the soul. It comes when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of changing. And once that line is drawn, something shifts inside you. You're no longer dabbling. You're no longer playing with the idea of change. You're all in. And when you go all in, life responds in kind. One decision doesn't mean you have all the answers. It doesn't mean you won't face resistance. But it does mean that you've made a commitment, a real emotional, energetic commitment to stop going backwards, to stop pretending you're fine when you're not, to stop lying to yourself about who you are and what you're here to do. And that one decision becomes the anchor for every choice you make going forward. It becomes the filter through which you measure your thoughts, your habits, your relationships. If it doesn't align with that decision, it's a no, period. Every great transformation begins with a single moment of clarity, a moment where you realize you are more than your circumstances, more than your mistakes, more than your fears. You realize that you've been playing small, not because you're incapable, but because you've been afraid to own your greatness. And once that realization hits you, you can't go back. You can't unsee it. You can't pretend you didn't feel that fire light up inside of you. That's the moment everything begins to change. Not when things get easier, not when you're finally ready, but when you finally decide. There's a kind of energy that comes with decision, not the kind that fades by morning, but the kind that fuels massive action. The kind that makes you move even when you don't feel like it. The kind that keeps you going even when the world around you doesn't yet understand your vision. The kind that doesn't care about obstacles because it's already committed to the outcome. That's what one decision can do. It can take a scattered, distracted, hesitant version of you and turn it into someone unshakable, someone driven, someone who is no longer willing to sit on the sidelines of their own life. Too many people wait for confidence to make the decision. But confidence is the result of the decision. not the requirement. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to be done waiting. Be done hoping someone else will save you. Be done pretending you're okay with staying stuck. The power is already inside you, waiting to be activated by that one courageous choice. Once you decide that your past no longer defines your future, once you decide that your comfort zone is no longer your home, you set something in motion that can't be undone. The shift begins the moment you say, I'm done playing small. And from there, you begin to live with purpose, with clarity, with fire in your heart and strength in your steps. You were not born to simply exist. You weren't placed on this earth to go through the motions, to check boxes, to play it safe and fade into the background. There's something inside of you, a voice, a spark, a calling that knows you are here for more. And that more isn't about material success or recognition. It's about impact. It's about knowing that your life has weight, that your words matter, that your actions ripple far beyond what you can see in the moment. You are made to influence, to uplift, to shift the atmosphere in every room you walk into. That's not arrogance, that's responsibility. You carry something that someone else needs, your story, your voice, your energy. It's not just yours, it's meant to serve. So many people underestimate their value because they confuse humility with hiding. They dim their light so they don't make others uncomfortable. They silence their dreams because they don't want to seem too ambitious. But hiding helps no one. You weren't meant to shrink to make others feel better about standing still. You were meant to lead, not necessarily with a title or a stage or a platform, but with presence, with heart, with integrity, with the willingness to show up fully even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. When you live a life of impact, it doesn't mean you have to change the whole world overnight. It means you change the world around you. One conversation, one kind word, one act of courage at a time. Maybe your impact is on your family. Maybe it's your community, your clients, your team, your children, your peers. Maybe it's a stranger who will never know your name but will never forget how you made them feel. That's the kind of impact that lasts. That's the kind of legacy that outlives you. You don't need permission to make a difference. You don't need a bigger following, a perfect plan, or a better time. You already have everything you need to start showing up as someone who makes others feel seen, heard, and valued. Your experiences, both good and painful, have shaped a level of wisdom in you that someone else is praying for. Your scars, your survival, your breakthroughs, they're not just personal, they're powerful. They are tools you can use to help lift others out of the dark, to remind them what's possible, to help them believe in themselves when they've forgotten how. Every time you choose to rise, to speak truth, to be authentic, you give someone else permission to do the same. That's how impact spreads. It's not just about changing people's minds, it's about touching their hearts. It's about leading with conviction, not for applause, but because you believe in something bigger than yourself. And when you live like that, when you live with vision and purpose, people feel it. Even if they can't articulate it, they feel the shift. Your presence becomes a catalyst. Your example becomes a blueprint. This world doesn't need more noise. It needs more truth. It needs people who are willing to show up, even if their voice shakes. People who are willing to stand for something, even if they stand alone. It needs people who are done hiding behind fear, doubt, and limitation, and are ready to step forward with courage, knowing that impact isn't about being the loudest, it's about being real. When you own your space, when you operate from your values, when you give your best without needing validation, you begin to operate at a higher frequency. You begin to influence everything around you, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're finally living in alignment with who you really are. And when you live like that, you naturally elevate others. Your life becomes the evidence that it's possible to live with passion, purpose, and unshakable power. There is a myth that time is on your side, that there will always be another day, another chance, another moment to do the thing your soul keeps whispering about. That you can wait until you feel more ready, more confident, more prepared. But the truth is, time doesn't wait. Time doesn't pause while you hesitate. It keeps moving, whether you decide to step up or stay seated. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to convince yourself that you're capable. Because waiting doesn't just delay action, it weakens belief. It chips away at your self-trust, replacing clarity with overthinking and courage with comfort. The time is now. Not when everything makes sense, not when you've eliminated all doubt, not when your plan is perfect. Now, this moment, this breath, this window of opportunity is all you really have. The future is uncertain. The past is already written. The only thing you can actually shape is what you do with what's right in front of you. And that means you have to stop living in someday. Someday isn't a day on the calendar. It's a disguise for fear. It's a soft, quiet way of saying, I'm afraid to begin, so I'll hide behind delay. When you treat time like it's unlimited, you start to live small. You tolerate jobs, relationships, routines, and environments that don't challenge you, that don't nourish you, that don't reflect who you truly are. You stay in cycles that drain you simply because they're familiar. You keep telling yourself, soon I'll make the shift, soon I'll speak up, soon I'll chase that dream, but soon becomes later and later becomes never. Meanwhile, your life is happening right in front of you, not the life you're imagining, but the one you're actually creating every single day through your decisions, your actions, and your energy. People who transform their lives don't wait until they feel 100% ready. They understand that clarity comes from movement, not meditation. That progress is born in the doing, not in the perfect planning. They realize that action isn't just about momentum, it's about identity. Every small step taken now reinforces a new belief. I am someone who moves. I am someone who shows up. I am someone who follows through. And over time, those tiny moments of courage compound into massive results. If you keep putting off what matters, you begin to normalize regret. You start to believe that missed opportunities are just part of life. But that doesn't have to be your story. You can rewrite that script starting today, right now, not with some grand gesture, but with a decision, the decision to move forward, the decision to stop waiting for the perfect time and create the right conditions by acting in faith instead of fear. There's power in urgency, not panic, but purposeful urgency. It's the fire that wakes you up in the morning and reminds you that your time here is limited, that your presence here matters, and that wasting your days is not an option. Every second you hesitate is a second you could be building something extraordinary, a life of purpose, a body of work, a legacy of impact. But it doesn't begin in the future. It begins now, in the choices you make today, in the actions you refuse to delay any longer. You don't have to know how the whole journey unfolds. You just have to take the first step, and then the next, and then the next. That's how mountains are climbed. That's how businesses are built. Relationships are healed. Lives are changed, not in a dramatic overnight success, but in daily decisions stacked with intentionality and action. There is no shortcut, no secret formula, no magic moment when everything will feel easy, but there is this moment, and it's enough. It's where the shift begins. It's where the future takes form. It's where you stop being a spectator and become a creator of your own destiny.